is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some Daymare 1994 Sandcastle, and today I'm going to be doing my review on Daymare 1994. So without further ado, sit back, relax as I explain to you why I ultimately recommend this game. Daymare 1994 is a survival horror game which is a prequel to Daymare 1998, and you take the role of Reyes as you work for a group called Hades, which stands for Hex Corps Advanced Division of Extraction and Search, and you're basically being sent on a mission to an experimental research facility. But of course, things do not go according to plan, and you're eventually separated from your team and forced to go at it alone and fight not just the enemies, but also learn the atrocities and all the secrets going on in the facility you're exploring. The best way to explain how Daymare 1994 feels and looks and plays probably to compare it to Resident Evil 2 Remake, because it's got that kind of feel and aesthetic about it. Obviously, this game has a lot of homages to Resident Evil franchise as a whole, and it's a welcome thing to this. And it's not just a welcome homage, it definitely does some things, tries to do things some unique, and I definitely enjoy it. It looks great. I mean, the lighting and the textures look absolutely gorgeous, and I keep trying to tell myself, yeah, this was made by an indie studio, and it looks really good. At times it just makes me wonder if this wasn't made by a bigger studio, but nonetheless, a lot of the environments, whether you're going onto the underground facilities, whether you're going out in kind of like the desert, or you're going into like an apartment complex or underground type like prison sewer system, regardless of where it is you are in this game, it looks absolutely gorgeously. Obviously, it's got some stiff animations, maybe in the cut scenes and the facial expressions, and maybe a little bit of the voice acting, but I think ultimately that's kind of like a little charm with this game. It's something I do appreciate. It can be a little funny at sometimes, but it's not something I'm going to hold too much against. It's just something that kind of comes with the territory, because everything else is presented really well in my opinion. You also have puzzles, and what survival horror game wouldn't be complete without having puzzles in it? And you got a few different types of puzzles. Most of them are just to try to get to one area to the next one. This one's probably the one that probably be the toughest one of all. Not that it's hard, but it's the one where you have a limited amount of tries to get it right, and where you can use lock things. But this one's, I think, on a normal one, you have ones that are hard or very hard. They get more and more complex. But this is why you use to unlock things to get more ammunition or med kits or upgrades to your weapons. But nonetheless, it's always fun to have these puzzles. They're not too difficult, but obviously this latter one is probably going to be the one that's most important, because as I said, you only have a limited amount of time to try. But nonetheless, the puzzles were a nice addition to this game. You also have a scanner device which you can use to pick up files and read stuff. It'll let you know when you're in an area. And as I said, there's a lot of files to pick up, a lot of audio tapes, logs, and stuff like that, because there's a lot of lore to learn about this game. As I said, I have not played 1998. I'm going to have to eventually, but I guess maybe it's better to play 94 first. But with this, you learn about what's going on in the facility, a lot of the character logs, the experiments, the whole process of, what went wrong and trying to build a story there. And I definitely do enjoy reading this, because as I said, I like that kind of old school data file type thing in a lot of these survival horror games. And this game definitely has a plethora of them, so I definitely highly approve of that. Another fun part about this game is all the Easter eggs and references you find. Now, obviously, there's a lot of Resident Evil references, obviously, with this key here that changes to very familiar symbols that we've probably seen before. But it's not just the Resident Evil references. There's a lot of reference to a lot of things. I found a Indiana Jones reference. I found a NBA 1993 Finals. I found a Buffy the Vampire Slayer reference. I even found a Shining reference, and these are the kind of things that make you, appreciate the atmosphere and the environment, and maybe you look a little bit closer than you normally would just to find these things, and they're just a really nice touch and a lot of love created by this studio for this game. Now let's get into the combat and the enemies of this game, and this is probably the most frustrating part of this game. Not frustrating because it's bad or something like that, but frustrating because I see what they're trying to do and I could understand them executing it. It's just there's some parts of it that clash with each other. So you have these enemies that basically are reanimated corpses that get created by these electromagnetic orbs that basically can go from body to body when you kill them. And as I say, you got two weapons. You can use the submachine gun and a shotgun. And basically these orbs right here, they'll come out and you can destroy them in a way I'll show you eventually, but they can come and reanimate these corpses. And first part, you're just shooting them with the weapons you got and killing them. Eventually you do get other types of equipment to use to fight these things. You'll get a frost grip, which is going to be your best friend because it's definitely how you use it to save ammunition. The frost grip basically can freeze enemies to death in place, and when you have a lot of them coming after you, it can definitely save your life. Enemies don't really hit you, they just grapple you, so you have to mash the button to break off. But once you freeze them, you can actually turn into yourself like a Sub-Zero killer and just basically punch and just annihilate. As long as you have enough of the meter of your freeze thing, you can constantly do it. That's why it's always constantly looking over your thing. If you have enough frost grip, being able to hit the enemies, and they don't stay frozen for long. But the problem here I have with this is all cool and it looks cool, but the problem is it's like I'm just fighting in this scene just the normal enemies, and it works. You can have a BS moment or two, but it definitely can work. But when you fight other enemies that aren't the normal enemies, this is when it becomes a huge problem. Because if you didn't notice, the enemies, they will be on your ass 24/7. They run non-stop on you. I mean, if you thought the Ganadas from Resident Evil 4 were bad, these guys make them look weak. But when you encounter this enemy, which I'll just call them the breeder, because that's basically what they are, not only do they teleport, but they also can one-shot kill you. And that's a problem because they can just easily teleport behind you. You might not know it, but when you're trying to account for all the other enemies running after you non-stop, it can definitely just be very frustrating because you'll be trying to hit him and get him out of the way, and then another one will grab you. You'll break free of that, and then you're trying to freeze them, but when you're in the process of not fully freezing them, then they'll break apart and hit you, and it'll make your whole thing reset. It can be a definite frustrating experience nonetheless. And as I said before, it's not that it's not fun. It is, and it can work, but there's too many times, especially when you have multiple different enemy types on the screen, that can really clash. By the way, this final sequence right before you beat the game, oh my god, this sequence can honestly go F itself. This is so frustrating. Oh my goodness. And you see how fast this thing teleports and just how it just constantly goes all over the place. And as I said, it's the end of the game, so that's what you have to look forward to, but it is such a frustrating thing. I wanted to throw my remote to the game because I just absolutely hated this sequence. They could have done so much better than this. This was just crap and really made me pissed off. But let's get into something good, this story. I really enjoyed the story of this game. I like the lore. I like the build-up, the setup. I just like the world we're in, just the whole mystery of what's going on, what you're finding out as you slowly get pieces of the puzzle to fit this whole experiment and thing going down this bunker for basically 30 years, the whole cover-up and other organizations trying to get in to destroy the evidence, other people trying to preserve it, the whole just tragedy of it, the whole just, what's going on, obviously the personal stake with your family member here, your sister, as well as, can you trust your own teammates? And I just really like this, and it's a world I wish to learn more about. I like the whole, portals and whatever the creature is that came out of it, and how it's constantly making people lose their minds with this whole toxin. I was definitely invested. For the characters, not including the main character, I like them. I just wish I could have learned more about them. Because most of the time you only see them in a certain cutscene and then they'll just disappear. I feel like they have a lot of story to tell, but you're just not given a story to tell with them. I feel like there should have been segments where you played as them a little bit. Maybe that can come down the road, but just to learn more about them. So they're not just the person that appears in a cutscene and then they just kind of disappear. But nonetheless, it definitely is manageable and passable. I definitely was invested, and I definitely did like this world. I just wish we could have seen more characters have more screen time, just so we can kind of learn more about them and get a gist of them and whatnot. Maybe that can be like an extra mode. But now I get to the main character, Reyes, and I really liked her as a main character. She was definitely cool, badass, also kind of funny too, had a few funny lines in there as well, but also a character I could believe as well. Just somebody who is selling this mission, just kind of doing it because, hey, they're just following orders, but as they eventually learn throughout this game that, question everything, and everyone she thought she knew, maybe she didn't really know, and then she starts to hallucinate, and and question what is real, what is not. Obviously, her whole connection with her sister here. I really did like it because, as I said, it makes a cool character, but also a sympathetic character, and I think that's a good balance there, and I really did enjoy her, and I'm really curious as to what her ultimate fate is at the end of this game. I won't spoil it for you, but it makes me wonder what they're going to do with the next possible entry of Daymare, but nonetheless, I would definitely love to see her down the line because I'd definitely be really intrigued with the way this game ended. Overall, I think Reyes was an awesome kick-ass character, and she definitely was, well, as Gore said.
So, why don't you tell me about it, Wonder Woman?
Overall, I definitely enjoyed this game, and I definitely recommend it for the $35 price point. Yes, it can be frustrating, especially when you have multiple enemies on the screen, different types of enemies, especially those one-shot kill enemies, and with the enemy's speed and constantly trying to move around, freeze everyone, trying to not get you to get grappled by them non-stop. It can be a little frustrating experience, but I'll be lying if I said that that's going to keep me down from this game. It definitely does have a little bit of a learning curve with that, but overall, I'll definitely probably do it a lot better the second time around than the first time around. But I guess that's the whole struggles and the fun of a survival horror game, because if it doesn't kick your ass, then it's probably not a very solid survival horror game then. But overall, I'm happy that there is games like this, because it's not just the top tier studios we need to play, it's also the indie studios, and I'm definitely going to get 1998 Daymare a try. But nonetheless, that is going to be it. That is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. Have you played this game? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you want to see another one in a franchise? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace.
How's it going at the doctor's?
Making an appointment for you, asshole. As soon as we meet again, you're going to need it.
Can't wait. Seriously, though, you're doing the right thing. The president needs to know what happened. It's the only way to stop this thing happening again.
Slow down, cowboy. We aren't on the same team.
No, you're not like them. You're just wearing the wrong uniform.
Concentrate on finding that fucking password. You don't know anything about me.
Okay, listen. Be careful.
Now arriving. Medical area.